Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Absolutely Not Podcast. I'm your host, Heather McMahan. I am back in New York City. It feels good. The weather is perfect. Tina and I walked from our hotel here to the studio. We were zipping. The air was crisp. We went to a very, very filthy bodega, which is the only kind of bodegas I like to go to. I got myself a tall boy of this blood orange tangerine spindrift with a straw. You can't get this shit. Back home, you can't. The one thing I miss about New York the most is bodegas. I miss getting a bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, catch, on a toasted roll. I wouldn't even do it on a bagel. I go roll, which is insane. Someone's gonna fight me about that. But to be able to go get a glass bottle Snapple, and I'd get the Diet Peach Snapple and a bacon, egg, and cheese, it cures everything. You got cancer? Snapple and a bacon, egg, and cheese. Ulcerative colitis? Snapple and a bacon, egg, and cheese. So Snapple, send me some product, or Spindrift. Love the tall boy. Can't get these at home. But absolutely, we're just thriving. The weather's perfect. We are excited. We're running around. We have a lot to recap. I've had so many questions about being on the road the last couple weeks. I would love to do a recap of Midland, tell you what happened in my 3 stops that I went to this weekend. So I have missed doing characters. I've missed putting on wigs, and I have this idea for a new character, and Tina and I went to the wig shop here in New York, and there's nothing better than this specific part of New York when you go shopping. It's where all the beauty supply stores are. It's kind of in like Flatiron, Chelsea-esque adjacent, right below Koreatown, and we went into the store, and it's obviously this lovely Asian family. It's his son, who smoking menthols outside. He smokes 20 menthols a day, and his mom, who's 110 years old, but because she eats impeccably, she's still running the wig shop. And they were going back and forth, getting us wigs. And I just felt inspired. And I always build my characters around the hair first. I don't know why hair specifically, I'm a man or a woman, just tells me who they are. But we went into the wig shop. And I've been feeling this need of just playing somebody else other than myself. And I miss doing my characters. And I just honestly have not had enough time to buckle down and do those sketches and skits, which I love to do. But we went into the wig store, and there's a new gal coming. The ideas started flowing. The juices were going. As soon as I saw this wig, I dialed in. I knew who she was. And the only thing that I will say to give you a little hint of who this person could possibly be, she's an original. Okay. But she owns a Vera Bradley bag, and she travels a lot with it. And that's all you need to know. So that's a little teaser for who this new person is that I'm going to create. But anywho, we hit the bodega. Everybody's outside smoking weed in New York. I probably have a contact high right now. I mean, everybody is smoking weed in the city. No one's having sex, but they're getting high. Okay. They're getting very high. You could be standing outside a Cava or a fucking Sweet Green, and you're going to get stoned. So I'm just saying, if you're thinking about bringing your children to New York for the holidays, mask up. Everyone's getting high out here. And there's nothing better than when you have a contact high from New York City and you smell a little bit like hot dog water and you have a tall boy spindrift from a filthy bodega. Nothing better, babe. Nothing better. Spindrift, please sponsor. We would love that. Anywho, what else is up? But we've been on the road, man. And this past weekend, we went to Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, and Dallas, Texas. And I have to give a shout out. Talk about 3 of my favorite places to go. 1, perform comedy there, and 2, just the hospitality, the warmth in the room. I don't know what it is about these places, but it was just 3 of my favorite shows. You guys really showed up, you showed out, and we had a freaking great time. And to all of those people in Cincinnati who keep pushing this Skyline chili on me, you're out of your mind. The amount of gals that DM me and said, I'd love to drop off some Skyline chili before your show. If you think I can eat spaghetti noodles with some loose sloppy joes on top and raw onion and then not shit myself on stage, you don't know how your girl performs. I already have bubble guts, so help me help you enjoy the show. I came out on stage, I go, what is wrong with everybody in Cincinnati? You guys are animals thinking that you could eat a bunch of Skyline chili and then perform. Unbelievable. And I would hope, I asked one lady in the audience, I was like, ma'am, if Joe Burrow, who's one of the hottest men in the NFL, if Joe Burrow called you right now and was like, I want to take you out on a date and then I want to sex you up later, but the only thing is you got to eat 2 bowls of Skyline chili beforehand, would you do it? And this one was like, I wouldn't dare. I was like, exactly. So quit pushing your Skyline chili, which I bet is delicious, on me. And when I did my show in DC, what is it, Binge Chili Bowl? It's another chili on the spaghetti. Guys, come on. You can't. Your girl cannot perform and be in peak top level comedy fitness and eat that before a show. After, that's a whole nother conversation. But I didn't think a lot of y'all wanted to get the Skyline chili, have it sit and congeal in your purses, and then hand it to me after the show. So I appreciate that we didn't do that. Oh, shout out to a phenomenal restaurant we ate at in Cincinnati called Soto. Unreal. And let me tell you what. I love going to a place and then being able to have a nice meal after the show. We eat like animals over a trash can, like wild rabid raccoons. Okay, it's disgusting how we eat on the road. But being able to have a great show, met some wonderful people at the meet and greet afterwards, and then go sit down and have like a proper meal, like break bread with the people I'm traveling with. Shout out to Soto, phenomenal homemade pastas, one of the best lamb chops I've had in a minute, great Adderall spritz, 10 out of 10, really loved it. And then we went to the Brown Bear Bakery, which is an iconic bakery in Cincinnati, and we walked in. We got there at maybe like 11:30, everything was already sold out. So we went in, we were like, we'll get some iced coffees, and I mean, the case was bare. I should have known. Last time I was there, you had to line up at like 7 a.m. to get these incredible pastries. And the gal checking us out was like, she literally, like it was a drug deal. She's like, just want you to know, I got a dozen snickerdoodles in the oven. Can you wait 5 minutes for them to cool? And we were like, we'll do it. Spent like $45 on snickerdoodles. But if you haven't had a snickerdoodle from the Brown Bear Bakery in Cincinnati, you don't know what God means. You haven't seen the pearly gates of heaven. I mean, truly, it was one of the best cookies I've ever had in my life. And I always I love a little snickerdoodle. Snickerdoodle done right is great. Snickerdoodle done wrong, you head to Guantanamo. Get out of here. You just shouldn't be allowed to be selling your wares if it's a bad snickerdoodle. But a good snickerdoodle will set your tits ablaze. So that was fun. We drove up to Lexington, Kentucky, and I have such a heart for Lexington. Obviously I shot my first special there. Shout out to Sydney and Logan, my girls, who always hook it up when we're there. And we got to pop over to our friend's place called Mill Ridge Farm. And our girlfriend Beth and her fabulous, funny husband Price own this farm, and it is so cool. And we drove out there and we showed Sweet Andrew all the horses, and he kept saying that the horses were nipping at him because he was a Jew. I said, I don't think that the horses care, that you are Jewish, but Andrew insisted that they were, showing their teeth. So I don't think the horses are anti-Semitic, but I get it if you think that they got a little extra feisty eating a carrot. But it's so great to see their horses and just see the beautiful farm. And it was a UK, University of Kentucky Wildcats basketball game. I mean, everything that you could imagine that was going on in that city was going on that night. So everybody who came out after the game and just came out for the show, thank you. Thank God the Wildcats won. So my girl Logan and Sydney, they brought me a UK jersey. So I decided to wear it on stage. I had a cute little leather skirt underneath it, and I had bought this adorable little jacket from Target. And I was like, oh, this will be nice, cool on stage. I sweat. Guys, first of all, those jerseys they're not dry wicking. They're not athletic wear. I was melting in this UK jersey. It was a men's double XL, went down to my knees. I mean, I looked like... I don't even have words right now. I looked like an idiot, but I was dripping in this jacket. So if you were on the front rows, I apologize, okay? I was just sweating all over you. Also want to give a huge shout out to some of the most fabulous men that had been in our audience this weekend. Big shout out to my boy Dylan and Greg that were in Lexington. I mean, Greg, I would have taken you home with me if I could have. And then huge shout out to my boy Dan at the Dallas show. I'll get into him in a second. Just the male energy, while we're living in a very toxic, masculine energetic moment in history. The male energy that was brought to these shows couldn't have been better. It was positive. They were allies, and they were also willing to just say the most insane shit. I don't set this up when you're doing crowd work. This is not pre-planned. I don't know these people, and I don't know if just the dumbest people bought the tickets in the first 2 rows at every show. Y'all were fucking cracking me up. And I say dumbest in like a loving way. Y'all could just said the most insane shit and we were giggling nonstop. So thank you for just coming and letting your guard down and having fun and letting us, play a little. That was fun. So after Lexington, we get on this flight and we're headed to Dallas. Now, unfortunately, I had to fly American. We were on a regional, small little puddle jumper from Lexington to Dallas. I spilled a Coke Zero on me. We were melting in the middle of the plane. The front was cool. The back was cool. The 10 rows that Andrew, Tina, Ray, and I were on were just absolutely boiling. When I asked very kindly to the flight attendant, hey, something's going on here. We actually have like hot, fiery dragon breath blowing on us. She got an attitude, then handed me a dry pretzel and spilled a Coke Zero on me. I still smiled. I understand how hard it is to do that job, but I said, if we don't have to do American, we're not doing it, okay? Your girl stays Delta 360 loyal for a reason. But we showed up to Dallas, and Dallas, truly, I have not felt that level of energy coming out on stage in a really long time. It was like Radio City level, just the room, you could feel it. It was so energetic, and every time I am in Dallas, you guys really show up. And there was a guy on the front row named Dan. Dude, Dan was everything. And I got to give a big shout out to his business. It's called OMD, One Man Dan. He owns a pest control in Longview, Texas. This man had on a hot pink polo that I think had gators on it, a solid buckle. Okay, a cowboy buckle, had a pair of Lucchese boots on, a nice pair of tight jeans. His wife was fantastic, and One Man Dan was sitting, little man spready, just pointing that crotch right at me and giggling all night. And he was fantastic. So if you're in Longview, Texas, and you need a solid, trustworthy, wonderful pest control, One Man Dan's your guy. OMD Pest Control, I believe is the name. But Dallas was just fucking the best, dude. The audience was amazing. Everybody at the meet and greet afterwards had a heart of gold. I just truly love, I love you guys for what the energy you gave back to me was, because we almost didn't make it on this harrowing flight from Lexington, and we're exhausted and rolling into a 3-day weekend. Some days you're like, all right, it does become work sometimes. And man, y'all really brought the heat at the Dallas show. And then afterwards, we went to a great little bar with a bunch of our friends from Ole Miss, and we were taking peanut butter whiskey shots. I don't know what the brand is. I don't know who makes this stuff, but I had my sorority sister, Carly, leaned over and she goes, take this. I said, Carly, I'm 38, okay? I can't be taking, I don't do whiskey anymore. And she said, just trust me. And I took a whiff and I said, that smells like fudge. And I took that back. And let me tell you what, your girl likes to have a good time, but if you start handing me shots that smell like fudge, it's just enough, it's adjacent enough to a sweet treat, I could really become an alcoholic. It was delicious. So whoever makes that, send that to my house for Christmas, because that was fun. Who makes the whiskey? Did we find it?
There's a few.
There's a few.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's the thing. Tina says that there are a few purveyors. I would like to do a taste test of this peanut butter whiskey.
One's called Screwball.
Screwball.
One's called Sheepdog.
Sheepdog, Screwball. Wait, I think they said it was a Dallas-based brand.
Okay, wait, Bubba's.
Bubba's, also love that. I feel like a man named Bubba would, and that was that. If the brand is Bubba's, then that is an honest mistake. That's just like a gift that falls in your lap, because he was eating peanut butter out of the jar while also drinking whiskey. A little blob got caught in his beard, fell into the whiskey, and that's how they created the company. What?
It might be called Texas Ranger.
Also Texas Ranger whiskey. You could also be the person who poisoned me in the most beautiful way on Saturday night. So by all means, if anybody is making any sort of fudgy, peanut butter, brittle-y type of whiskey, send it to my home. I had 2 Mick Ultras and a couple peanut butter fudge shots, and I was cruising. And then I accidentally drugged myself. I went back to the hotel and I had slept so poorly the 2 nights before and was so exhausted. I said, okay, I'm gonna take a little supplement to fall asleep. I'm on this cortisol manager stuff because I'm trying to lower the cort. So I take 2 of those, which is normal. It's all natural. And then I actually took a trazodone. So I was on peanut butter fudge shots, Mick Ultras, trazodone, and some cortisol manager. And when I tell you, like the whole crew had to like wheel me out, like my 1,000-pound sister, like wheel me down to the car to get to the airport. I was not really, didn't have my wits about me until I hit touchdown in New York at LaGuardia. And then you know, once you smell that New York air, you're back at it. Once you smell that hot dog water air, you are back in it. Okay, but we got to backtrack because the 2 weekends before, or the weekend before, I was deep in the heart of Texas. And I don't know if this is the heart of Texas, the Dust Bowl of Texas. I don't know if this is the armpit of Texas. I don't really know where we were, but we hit San Antonio, which of course we love, and then we hit Midland. And you guys have asked me more times how I feel about Midland, Texas than who I'm voting for, okay? Midland. What a time. Now, I have to tread lightly on what I really want. No. We're gonna have an honest review. An honest review of Midland. So many of y'all said, what did you think of Midland? One, coming in, we flew in at night, okay? We took an 11 p.m. flight from Austin to Midland. So I'm told Tina, I said, you gotta gussy it up. I bet we got some oil daddies that are flying back home. You know, I bet there's gonna be some hot, rich daddies on this flight. Wrong. First mistake. When I tell you there were 4 people on oxygen tanks and us, that was it. It was a little regional puddle jumper and everybody else was wheeled on. We were the only people that got on this flight that were not wheelchaired on, which we love a handy capable moment. We love that nothing holds you back. So we get on the flight, so immediately Tina's like, all right, I don't see any daddies. We fly in, and I am like just a puppy dog looking out the window. I want to see the oil rigs and the fire coming in. I love the show Landman. I'm thinking from the sky, I'm going to see all the oil rigs, but I couldn't really tell what was what. Now, one of my friends, Christina, another Christina, who lived in Midland for years, said when she was moving to Midland from Houston, she said her husband flew her in at night because then you don't see how desolate it is. And I was like, all right, I know it's desolate, but I'm excited to see the landman of it all the next day. And we woke up. We're sitting at a Torchy's Taco across from a Marriott in Odessa. Very nice Marriott, very nice Torchy's. And next thing you know, the cops roll up. Some woman, God bless her, was having a moment. She was having a little mentee bee, she was crashing out. I thought she was just doing jumping jacks. Like we're sitting at the Torchy's Taco facing the Marriott. I thought this lovely lady was just in a robe doing jumping jacks. I said, look at her getting out here, catching that morning sun. Really doing her calisthenics bright and early. Next thing you know, cops come around the corner. They're chasing this woman down the street. Andrew, Tina, and I are sitting at Torchy's having breakfast tacos. We're like, do we get up and help? Do we help the woman? Like, I don't know what she did. She's running down the middle of the street as giant like oil daddies are driving in their big white trucks, and the cops get her out. Ambulance comes around the corner. Scarlett takes a tumble. We see a live arrest. There's also no one downtown Odessa. And Odessa and Midland are right next to each other. And I was like, this could not be more, we couldn't have made this up if we tried. I'm just sitting here having a sensible breakfast taco while a crazy woman in a robe gets tased. Like, welcome to Midland. That's all we needed to know. So we went on a tour. We saw their version of Stonehenge. Andrew really wanted to see the stadium from Friday Night Lights, so we went by that, and that was it. I mean, you take 3 left turns, you've seen it. And that's not a negative, though. I like a small town. I like a sense of community. But it really is wild. It is flat. It is desert. It is desolate. You're out there. It's just oil rigs, breakfast tacos, and drunk white women taking their kids to soccer. Kind of love it. At the end of the day, kind of my people. We drive 20 minutes due north, if you will, to Midland, where a lot of my girlfriends live. And, they were showing me the towns. We went to the place that was voted best margaritas in Midland. I had a margarita with Mountain Dew in it. Yeah, you heard that right. It was a frozen margarita with a floater of Mountain Dew. I took one sip. My entire face felt flushed, and I couldn't feel my legs. I said, I don't think I can drink this before the show. I did, though. Okay, challenge accepted, I did. I don't know what y'all are doing out in Midland. I mean, Mountain Dew and margaritas? Come on. I definitely wouldn't let somebody drink that and then get on a rig. You know, you're going to lose a limb. But they were delicious. I will give you that. They were very delicious. So we go to the show. We're having a blast. The audience was fantastic. Thank you to everybody who came out. And this is what I love about women, just in general. Doesn't matter where you're from, but specifically Southern women. So these gals who came to the show, there was a big group of them, and I have a couple friends in this group, but I didn't know the majority of these women. They said, Heather, we have an exclusive club. Like we all had to move out here from Dallas and Austin and Houston. There's a very exclusive private club that we want you to come hang out at tonight. I'm thinking it's just the local Midland Country Club. They're like, no. We want you to come to this place. We have no idea what to expect. We take a left at a Walmart, or we're like, all right, it's gonna be, a normal bar. We roll up to this resort. I don't even know how to describe it. Perfectly well lit. We go through a guard shack, and the guy says, hey, we introduce ourselves and we've been waiting for you. We'll meet you at the front door. We drive maybe 20 seconds up to a parking spot. We park. This man just appears. I don't know how he beat us. I don't know if he teleported, if he went through a tube, if he got on a shuttle. I don't know how this man beat us to the front door. But the next thing you know, he's at the front door. He's like, we have been waiting for you. I float through the most stunning architecturally designed casita. It was like a mixture of gorgeous kind of like Mexican rugs and South Texas style and gorgeous textiles. It made, I've stayed at very nice hotels. This place was unreal. They told me it was a secret club. Not really a secret club, but a club you could join in the Midlands for all the folks that go out there and they work. But they're like, there's nothing out here. I had one of the best chicken wings I've ever had in my life. I'm sitting in this room. All of a sudden, 100 women appear. They kind of show up. I'm like, oh my God, that's like sorority rush. They just appear. They hand me the most delicious skinny margarita, and they're like, welcome. Welcome to our club. It was a little get out, you know what I mean? It was a little, there was a moment where I was like, are they gonna skin me and wear me? Everyone was so wonderful. So they explained to me that I guess a bigwig in town had built this club because he was sick and tired of not having anywhere to go with his family for something other than a Mountain Dew margarita, which I would be happy with the Mountain Dew margarita. But this place was curated to the T. So I want you to know if anybody has a way to join that club, even though I don't live in Midland, I would like to just have the membership there just, for the every 2 years that I go to Midland for a show. But it was wild. We shut this place down. We're having cocktails. I said, I could live here if this is my watering hole. I would never leave. This is fantastic. You're telling me I got an oil rig in the back that's just cranking out cash, and I could sit here and have these chicken wings and a delicious, crisp, skinny margarita? Sign me up. So what are my thoughts on Midland? I'm ready to go. Let's call a real estate agent. Let's get a property on the books. But what's really wild is you drive in between Odessa and Midland, and they have these just giant bunkhouses. I don't even know how to describe it, except it's these giant hotels. I think it was called the Armadillo Hotel. And it's just where dudes, they fly in, they stay in these bunkhouses, they're probably all doing circle jerks, and then they go out to the rigs and print that cash. I mean, it truly is a town that is solely based on oil, energy. I mean, you kind of feel a little Mars-esque too. You land, there's nothing else around it, and you're like, we're here for one job only, and that's to get fucked up on margaritas with Mountain Dew. And you're like, all right, once you name what it is that you're there for, you get it, and you don't judge that. And then Tina and I, on our way to the airport, stopped and had one of the best breakfast burritos I've ever had at a little gas station, and our friend Mal told us to go there. We rolled up, and listen, I lived in Mississippi. We're not judging, but I did judge this. I said, I don't know about this. This place didn't even have a sign. There was a tumbleweed, a dust bowl that went in front of us. And we walked in, and then I knew it was gonna be fire. When she spoke no English, and she just said red or green, roja, or verde, I said, it's either gonna be a red salsa, a green, and it's a wrap. And it was to die for. It is wild though, because if you have seen Landman, everybody in town drives a white giant truck. everyone has a utility truck. It's a specifically white. And I don't know if it's white just because they got a huge deal at the GMC dealership. I'm not quite sure. There is not a gray truck. They are all white utility trucks that are parked at the airport, that are parked in town. That's what everybody drives. So shout out to Taylor Sheridan for really having a perfect spot on, authentic. He nailed the town, the people, all of it perfectly. So if you haven't seen Landman, check it out. You'll get a nice big picture of Midland. But we had a great time. So for those of you who are just dying, itching, scratching to know what I think of it, I'm ready to join the club and move in. Let me know. And if anybody knows how I can start investing at Diamondback Energy, call your girl. Want to get you up to speed though. I've been having so much fun on this tour, and I'm so grateful for y'all. I really am. And we have some amazing shows coming up to round out the year. So we have Thursday and Friday back at the Paramount Theater in Austin, another one of my favorite places to be. Man, Texas, you just keep calling me. And then after that, we have Des Moines, Iowa, and Dusseldorf, Iowa. Bettendorf. I'm going to call it Dusseldorf. I'm not calling it anything but Bettendorf, Iowa. And I know that's a casino show. And there's about 10 women and, the local drug dealer is going to be at that show, and I can't wait. So Bettendorf, get excited. I'll see you at the steakhouse afterwards. But yeah, we're having a good time. Oh, we got to update you on Texas Tony. So coming into the Austin show, I'm very excited. We're going to be picking up Texas Tony. I say we. It's actually Andrew and his beautiful wife, Brenna. But we rescued this little kitty cat. We were walking outside of our hotel in San Antonio. And Raymond, I'd already gotten in the car, so had Tina and Andrew, and Raymond saw the valet had this itty-bitty tiny kitty in his hand. Ray's screaming, Andrew, it's Mango. Now, Andrew and Brenna recently lost their orange kitty Mango to I believe it was a urethra problem. It was some sort of bladder issue. So, that's an awareness that we could definitely raise here at the show. But, so it just was kismet. So we asked the valet to hold the cat while we did the show. We came back. The manager had taken the kitty home for the night. So Andrew and I take the cat to the vet because we're like, we got to get it checked out. And the vet says, listen, the cat's in good health, but it cannot fly. It's too young. So it has to be 8 weeks. So we were doing the math. We're like, all right, how are we going to get somebody to hold the kitty? We don't want to take it to a shelter. And shout out to one of my favorite gals. She got engaged at my show, 4 years ago? In Charleston, right? Or was it in Texas? It was Charleston. Alexa, we love you. I love you and your husband. Alexa and Tim, thank you so much for holding Texas Tony. So we roll up. I got them a big crate because they had a dog, and we said that the kitty cat has to be on some tummy medication for a couple days. And they were like, we've always wanted an orange kitty, but we're happy to hold Texas Tony for Andrew for when he comes back to get him at the Austin shows. So the first couple photos that they sent us to Texas Tony was before he got his antibiotics. So he's sleepy, he's laying in the crate, being an angel boy. The minute this antibiotics kicked in, they send me a video, and he's literally scaling the wall of this giant crate we got. I'm like losing his fucking mind. His personality is coming out, and Andrew goes, oh yeah, Texas Tony's gonna be ready for me. So Alexa and Tim, I will get you a nice gift. Thank you for holding down the fort. I hope Andrew's been a good kitty daddy from New York, and he's, keeping you updated. And but we really appreciate y'all just having boots on the ground, holding it down so that, Andrew can expand his family, because he was devastated when Mango died. And, every grown man needs a little orange kitty. So we appreciate you. All right, now we're going to get into the voicemails. As always, you can call in 800-213-7503. Let's hit it. Let's see what you guys have been up to, because I've been in Midland. That's where I've been.
So for an absolutely not, that you're really going to appreciate. I absolutely got a DWI for Adderall. Oh. Not kidding. I was driving. My dog knocked a bottle underneath my foot, and I was swerving to try to get it before it slid under my brake, and I got pulled over. After they called out 9 cops and made a huge scene, they finally took me to get a blood test. Obviously I didn't have alcohol in my system. It was 10:30 in the morning, and I wasn't drinking. Not that I haven't, but I wasn't. And they pulled me over, take me in to get the blood work done, and they give me a DWI for a amount of Adderall that was out of therapeutic range. Bitch, I've been on that shit for 20 years. Of course I have a bunch in my system if I need it to fucking work. I don't even know.
Okay. One, I love that this was anonymous. Okay. So this is interesting. Shout out to the caller who just let us know she got a DUI for Adderall. Let's break this down. A lot to get into. Now, one, obviously, we would never promote on this show drinking and driving or being under any sort of influence. But I feel like you got bamboozled on this one. I mean, how many mothers out there, how many just women in general are on some sort of methamphetamine to make it through the day? Okay? I think if you were to pull over on the side of the highway and you had a roadblock and started testing people, everybody is on some sort of stimulant. You're telling me a Monster energy drink isn't just as scary as a Vyvanse? Come on. Now, because my sister's a criminal defense attorney, she told me a long time ago, she said, if you ever get pulled over and anything's in your system, you're most likely going to jail. This is not legal advice. She always just told me, you say nothing, call an attorney, you're probably going to jail. But here's my thing. This is where I think this is a little odd. If you really hadn't been drinking, you probably would have blown. Okay? Just hear me out. Like, if you're really like, there's literally nothing in my system, you probably would have blown. So the fact that they still took you to jail and then they did the blood test makes me think you may have been so geeked out on the Adderall, you also forgot that you had a couple Irish coffees on the way to work as well. There's something about this that is not fully adding up, but I also want you to know in a court of law, I would defend you to the nth degree, okay? I have your back, but I also have questions. I mean, dude, you can get, if you're on a Xanax and it's in your system, you can get arrested for anything. This is why Uber and Lyft are always a good idea. You know, I hate to drive, and it's not even because I'm under the influence of anything. I don't like to get behind the wheel. I get nervous. I'm always nervous about everything. I'm anxious Annie these days. So, but that is some bullshit. I mean, the fact that they did a blood test at the jail, they may have had a little suspicion, not just a suspicion, but they may have had, maybe the pupils were a little too dilated. You know, maybe there wasn't a dog in the car. Maybe you said the dog hit the bottle and they're like, ma'am, it's your Chanel purse. You know, I don't know. You may have been so geeked out on whatever you were on that you thought you had a dog and maybe there wasn't one in the car. I want to tell you, again, this is all allegedly, but I would like to be your defense attorney, but I do have follow-up questions. Google, can you get a DWI for Adderall? I mean, you can literally, if there's anything in your system and you're driving recklessly, yes, you could get in trouble for it. Okay, Tina did a quick Google search and you can get a DWI for anything. It says, if you stop, be honest, but don't volunteer information. I mean, I've always been told you say nothing. You don't say anything. They ask you, have you been drinking? You say, absolutely not. I'm on my way to work. But regardless, you don't tell them shit. Here's the thing, you're not gonna win. At the end of the day, you're getting locked up raw regardless, whether it's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. So the moral of the story is, don't take the prescription drugs until you get to the office and then maybe Uber home. That's mine. My info right there. And how embarrassing is that? We were like, how do you explain that to your boss? I got a DWI because I was on performance-enhancing drugs. You're like, I love my job so much. I'm ready to come. I take my Adderall before I leave the house so that the moment that I clock in and I punch in for work at this marketing agency, I am just filled with energy and zest for writing copy for commercials. Like, if I was your boss, I would be like, wow, you take this seriously. And I would be impressed. So for you, it's a win-win. You might be getting a promotion at work, but you might have to start learning how to ride a bike to get there. So, you know, lessons learned. But just so you know, even if you prescribe something, the devil can still get you. And I think that's the bigger lesson. Because even in your voicemail, you sounded like a little geeked out. And so maybe we need to dial it back on the stimulants and just hit a little ashwagandha. Let's take it down a notch. Glad you're safe, though. Glad the road is safe. And hope your dog exists. Let's get to the next voicemail.
Heather, what's up, girl? It's Morgan from Savannah. Probably should stay anonymous on this one, but fuck it. I just need your opinion on something. How would you take your ex of like 5 or 6 years, his pregnant wife asking your best friend to be her doula for her first child. I'm sure you know what a doula is, but if you don't, it is someone who helps advocate for you during your pregnancy and during your pregnancy and after your pregnancy. So you're there for the whole shebang and seeing the whole 9 yards of the childbirth. So I just want your opinion on what you think of that. And, you know, to me, I think it's totally inappropriate to ask your husband's ex's best friend to be a part of that.
Okay, so this is your ex-husband, her ex-husband.
Her ex-boyfriend?
Her ex-boyfriend's new wife asked her best friend to be the doula. Okay, here is the thing. One, we're bringing a child into this world. And at the core of what is happening, it's animalistic. I think we need all hands on deck. Now, I get it if this is very sensitive and you don't want this woman to be helped. I understand that and I respect that boundary. But I also want you to remember this. He is your ex for a reason. This other woman picked up your leftovers. We at least got to help her out. And I'm not saying that she's perfect in all this, but you don't want to help her deliver his ugly ass baby? I'd help her out. You know you're better off without him. He's been your ex for 5 to 6 years for a reason. You know who doesn't need to suffer? The taint of the woman pushing his baby out that's going to have a weird shaped head just like him. I mean, obviously have the conversation with your friend and maybe, air your grievances. Maybe make a pros and cons list. Cons, it's the ex. Con, you're going to be seeing all up in this woman's bits. Pro, we're bringing a life into this world. And the kid's probably going to need a helmet. So you already know that what you're doing is technically putting good energy out into the world. And doulas are hard to come by. I don't know if you know, but there's a doula shortage. So I think your friend should do it. I think she should do it wholeheartedly. And she can tell you how busted the pussy is later. Not that we ever want to have a negative comment about a woman and she's in a vulnerable state. But if she can't take photos, that breaks HIPAA, but she can at least be like, yeah, hell yeah, those roast beef curtains are jacked. No, but in all seriousness, of course, she's a professional. I think you got to let this one go. Because at the end of the day, it's women helping women. And you know how miserable you were with this guy for however long you were with him. And she's already picked up your old dirty socks. So the least we can do is let her, have a little extra help pushing that baby with a weird shaped head. Let's just help her out. Let's be positive. Because you know what? You putting good energy out into the world and not harboring a negative energy about this ex, it's only going to serve you better. And that means when you eventually have kids, you won't have a stage 3 perennial tear, And maybe your friend could be there to make sure that this woman doesn't rip to her asshole. So at the end of the day, let's not we're going to fight the patriarchy by saving everyone's taint. And I feel very strongly about that. Be the bigger person, rise above the doula drama. Let's get to the next voicemail.
Hey, Heather, it's your boy, John, from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I was just sitting here trying to meditate, and a thought just came into my head. I think an absolute yes. I mean, you're funny. You already talk about, places that you go or things that you like to eat, or maybe occasionally you'll mention things you like to cook. I think that it would be great if, you did a show where, you cooked and talked to people like other comedians, or you did your own type of travel / cooking show to where you took us to all your favorite spots and showed us what you like to eat. I mean, you already have a podcast, and I think a lot of people would love to see more of you. Anyways, thanks, Heather. Love and light.
All right, John from Pittsburgh, I just want you to know that the next time I go into a sales pitch in LA for one of the many brilliant unscripted reality ideas that we have, I'm bringing you in. And I want you, that voicemail was so monotone, like, hey, Heather, you are talented. You like to cook. Why don't you have a show? You got to be a part of our pitch. I just need you. I need you. Everything about you I love. Thank you for encouraging me to branch out outside of just stand up and do that. Listen, I've had travel shows. We tried to sell multiple travel shows. Here's the thing. Even Stanley Tucci had to do a rebrand. Travel shows, what people don't realize, are actually expensive to shoot. My dream would be to take you to Italy, to take you to my vacation spots. You know, I talk about food. I used to watch Wendy Williams, one, because she's insane and I love her, but I would love the way she would describe the snacks she would have. She would literally every morning talk on her show, look directly to camera and her mouth would start watering. She's like, ooh, when I get out of here, I'm having a little piece of cheese, a little nice sharp Gouda. On a Triscuit with some hot sauce. And I was like, the way that Wendy describes food is the way I want to describe food as I travel the world on my travel show. I'd love to have one. You know, I pitched a show called Abroad. And then if you've noticed, there's a lot of men in travel. Everybody, all the dudes are traveling. The women aren't traveling. I don't know if they think we're going to get pickpocketed at the Rome train station, but I'm ready to go. You know, I'm beefy. Nobody messes with me abroad, but I would really love to do that. I think the cooking show is probably not for me because I can't even look at ground beef right now after I got sick last week. So what am I making? The only thing I can make is amatriciana, which is my favorite pasta, but I'd rather take you to Il Falcetto in Rome to enjoy that amatriciana. And then we would get very drunk on camera and we would cry with the chef because I love the family. That's what we would do. And that's the thing, you know, people always ask me travel advice. I am not a creature of habit in any aspect of my life. At least I don't think I am. I mean, if you want to call me out, you can. But man, when it comes to travel, I love to branch out. But once I find a place that I love to be a regular. I don't know what it is. Being a regular somewhere is just, I don't know what childhood trauma hit me at some point that I love to go somewhere and people know your name. Truly. I love a cheers moment. But when we were in Rome for the Ryder Cup a couple years ago, triggering, we would go to Il Falcetto. We found Il Falcetto like the first night, and I just immediately became friends with them, and we went every night for a week. We went every night. You're in a foreign country. Now, of course, we went to different places for lunch, and we branched out, but for the week of the tournament, we went to this place every night. It was that delicious. And nothing, and I mean truly nothing, gets me more excited, warms my heart better, more than when I see y'all go to these places that I love, or like Perione and Florence, and then you take photos with the crew and the staff that are there. I love when people get to know the people that I love. It really gets me excited, like so excited. But I am a little bit of a creature of habit when I go to places. So I think that I'm dialed into like what's good. But a cooking show would be disastrous. Would I do it? Sure. You know, would I want to sit and talk to other comedians while I'm burning my arm hair off while trying to make you a frittata? No, I wouldn't want to do that. That's just not in my wheelhouse. I went on David Chang's show on Netflix, and Fortune Feimster was with me. And that was great because we just got to be like, you know, two chunky dunkers and just eat the most delicious food and giggle while professional David Chang, who's one of the most famous chefs in the world, was literally dripping beads of sweat into the chocolate fondue he was making for us. I was like, if he seems pressed, I would set the whole house on fire. Now, I could do a show where I just make drinks and we sit around and if we want to have a show sponsored by the peanut butter fudge whiskey and we all just sit around and it's a bunch of comics just getting drunk, great. And we answer voicemails, great. But I'm not making you shit. Now, I can make a nice charcuterie. Tina taught me how. She can julienne a vegetable like you've never seen. She's very good at cutting. You are, Tina. You're very good at slicing and dicing. And to have knife skills is extremely hard. And I want to say something to Soraya, who owns Hen Mother Cookhouse. I need you to do a knife course with us. You never have a time off because you run two very successful restaurants. But I keep telling Soraya every time I see her, I'm like, can you please teach me how to use a knife? So also, Side note, want to give a big shout out to Soraya. She had an incredible pop-up dinner. You know, she owns a breakfast and brunch spot, but every now and then she does a pop-up. And every time she says, Heather, I'm never doing this again. It almost killed me. But we had a reservation and we did a little girls' night with some of my girlfriends from high school, and we popped in and the food was amazing. So Soraya, I know you listen to this podcast religiously. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Hats off to you. It was incredible. And if you ever come to Atlanta, you got to go check out Hen Mother. But there's a lot of ideas, John, from Pittsburgh that I would love to do that don't get picked up. But if you could just come on these sales calls with me and try and convince other people across Hollywood that I am deserving of said opportunities, you know, once you give me the platform, I wouldn't let you down. I wouldn't let you down. I wouldn't. And you know where I think we go first? We might go back to Mallorca. I could give you some hot fire content. But no, do I want to do a cooking show where I'm standing in a test kitchen just sweating, making you eggs Benedict? I don't want to do that. So thank you for planting that seed, but that's a no. And if I've learned anything post Ryder Cup, I'm going to start saying no to some select things, okay? Which is refreshing, which has been refreshing to say, you know what, I don't think that's going to serve us. We're going to say no. That being said, this is a great place to just bookend, you know, our ideas, our creativity. I've got a bag of wigs that I'm staring at out of the corner of my eye, and I am so excited to get weird and creative again. You know, if I learned anything from the ups and downs that we've had this year, it's tap into the roots, tap into the core of who you are. And who am I? Slightly schizophrenic. I would love to put on some wigs and just get weird again. That's what brings me joy, and I hope that you will find some joy with that along the way, and we can giggle and not be so serious about shit, because the world is a nightmare. Okay, anywho, I love that, you know, we really solved the world's problems this week. And if you need any bail money, you can always call into the hotline, 800-213-7503. Just remember, if you take pharmaceuticals, even if they're prescribed to you, and you take too many of them, you can get arrested. I will see you in Austin, Texas, and then I will see you in Des Moines, Iowa, and Dusseldorf, Bettendorf, whatever. Cannot wait to be there. And then we are off on the road for Christmas. I can't believe the holidays are here. What in God's name is happening? I'll tell you what's happening. It's the birth of Jesus, and we love that. And then we're announcing a ton of dates for the spring, so don't worry. If I haven't come to your city yet, I will be in the spring. And then we're going to shoot another special in the spring, and then Mama's hopefully going to have a TV show on Hulu. Praying that gets picked up. All right, anyways, I love you, I mean it. I will see you on the road. Get your tickets at heatherontour.com, and I'll see you in the meantime, between time. Ciao, Bella. Arrivederci.